To the fantasy football season, and here's a few tight ends I would drop this week. The first guy, Jonnu Smith, the New England Patriots. So Jonnu Smith, he's been struggling so far this season with his new club after signing a nice free agent deal in the off year. Hunter Henry, he was a better pickup so far for fantasy football than Jonnu Smith, and he was a recommended ad on the waiver wire as well. So Jonnu, the last few games here, hasn't done much. Week 3 versus the New Orleans Saints, 1 catch, 4 yards. Week 4 versus the Tampa Bay Bucks, 3 catches, 14 yards only, but a touchdown saving his fantasy day. And Week 5 in a plus matchup at the Houston Texans that gave up the second most fantasy points to tight ends. He only had 2 catches for 27 yards, so he's only had 1 double-digit fantasy day so far in the first 5 weeks of the season. Here's Jonnu Smith. So right now, him and Mac Jones aren't on the same page like Hunter Henry and Mac Jones are so far this season. But Jonnu Smith, he definitely could turn things around. But right now, he's not showing enough, in my opinion, for fantasy owners. And right now, there's been better tight ends this season that have been picked up on the waiver wire, and even as the season goes on, could have better performances than Jonnu Smith. So right now, this week, he's a tight end that would drop. The next tight end is Robert Tonyan of the Green Bay Packers. So I've mentioned Tonyan as a drop the last few weeks here. And fantasy owners, they've been starting to drop Tani now in 15% of fantasy leagues, but he's still owned in 68% of fantasy leagues. And the job done this season, 1 game with double-digit fantasy points, and that we got to go all the way back to Week 2 in that one. 3 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. And since then, Week 3 at the 49ers, 1 catch, 6 yards. Week 4 versus Pittsburgh, 2 catches, 8 yards. And Week 5 at Cincinnati, 1 catch for 8 yards. So right now, he's getting 2 or 3 points at most over the last few weeks, is Tonyan. That's production. That's not going to do much, obviously. And that's very poor production, especially for a guy who's in a high-powered offense with Aaron Rodgers. But right now, in Green Bay, it's all about Devontae Adams on the receiving end of things and Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. So right here, those are the 3 primary targets over there in Green Bay. And last season might have just been a fluky season for Robert Tonyan, where he had the 11 touchdowns, but right now he's not getting the job done, and there's way better fantasy options on your waiver wire than Tonyan. And the third and final tight end I would drop this week's Max Williams of the Arizona Cardinals. So Max Williams, it could have been his breakout season here with the Cardinals, and he was off to a pretty good start in the first month of the season here with a couple big double-digit fantasy days, but now he left the ball game in Week 5 with a severe knee injury, probably a torn ACL. But anyway, it's confirmed that he's going to miss the rest of the season here with Max Williams. And he was one of the hotter pickups on the wire in Week 4 to Week 5 was Max Williams. So right here, no reason to keep him in Dynasty or Keeper Leagues. And hopefully next season he comes back and better than ever. Because like I mentioned, he was starting to have a role in this offense. And he was starting to be a threat and a playmaker as well at the tight end position. But he's out for the season with a knee injury. So he's an easy drop. So that's a few tight ends I would drop here for Week 6 of the fantasy football season.